So welcome back. Let's continue with more theorems on field theory. Firstly, we'll see one definition and then later we'll move on to lemma G6. That's all we're gonna discuss in this video. Okay, the note says that it's a definition. It's the definition of K join H. If K and H are subgroup of G, then K join H is the smallest subgroup of G containing K and H. That is, K join H is the subgroup of G generated by K union H. So it's nothing but the smallest subgroup of G containing both K and H. That's simply K union H. So it contains the elements from both K and H. That's a very small definition. Now let's move on to lemma G6. It says, given K and H are subgroups of G with K is normal in G, then we need to prove two things out there is K join H is equal to KH, which is equal to set of all KH where K belongs to K and H belongs to X, which is equal to HK. So we need to prove two things. So let's see the first part of this theorem. Okay. Firstly, we're gonna prove K join H which is equal to KH. For that, we need to prove KH is contained in K join H and K join H is contained in KH. If two of these things are proved, then we can directly say that KH is equal to K join H. Okay. So from the definition of K join H, it's clear that KH is contained in K join H. Okay, that's denoted by equation number 1. So now we need to prove the reverse thing, that is K join H is contained in KH. For that, it's enough to prove KH is a subgroup of G containing K union H. So we need to prove that this KH is a subgroup of G containing K union H. That is both the elements from K and H. So we need to prove KH is a subgroup of G. Okay. For proving KH a subgroup of G, we need to see some of the conditions. First condition is closure property. So we barely see in the last theorem also what are the conditions to prove for a subgroup. Okay, the same way we gonna prove here also KH as a subgroup of G. Okay, firstly we'll see closure property. Next, existence of identity, associativity property, existence of inverse, etc. First is closure property. Okay, so for proving closure property, we'll take two elements KH and K1 H1 from KH. Now let's see whether these elements, if we multiply these two elements, we need to have that particular element in KH, then only we'll say that closure property is satisfied. Okay, if we take two elements KH and K1 H1, if we multiply these two elements and they are also in KH, means the property holds. Okay, so we take two elements from KH and we gonna multiply these two elements, that is KH into K1 H1. So we can group according to the operation given. So KH into K1 into instead of H I am giving H inverse H H1, which is equal to K into I'm gonna group H K1 H inverse together and H H1 as a part. Okay, so we got K into H K1 H inverse H H1. So this is nothing but K2. So K into K2 H H1. So I am substituting this term as K2. So I got K K2 into H H1. So this is an element of KH. So our first condition holds. So I am taking two elements from KH and if I multiply these two elements, that particular element is also in KH means the property holds. So next we'll see associativity. For proving associativity, we need to have three elements in KH. That is KH, K1H1, K2H2. Okay, we take three elements out there in this KH. If we operate two elements together and one element as a part, we will get KH into K1H1 into K2H2, which can be written as KH into, these elements will be grouping together, so we'll get K1H1 into K2H2. So the first two elements will be grouping together and the third element will be keeping apart. Okay, so this is a group, right? G is a group, so in group associativity holds. So similarly in KH also it holds. Next is existence of identity. I'm taking an element, that is identity element from K and an identity element from H. So 1 into 1 which belongs to K into H, that is 1 into 1 is nothing but 1 belongs to KH. Next is existence of inverse. If you take an element KH, corresponding inverse element must also be there in KH. Then only our property will hold. Okay, I'll take the element KH from capital KH. Now KH the whole inverse, which is nothing but AB, the whole inverse is B inverse into A inverse, that is KH the whole inverse is H inverse into K inverse, which is equal to H inverse into K inverse into HH inverse. HH inverse is nothing but 1. So the value must not change if we multiply HH inverse. Okay, which is equal to, I'm grouping these three terms together and keeping H inverse apart. So I got like this, H inverse, K inverse, H into H inverse, which is nothing but if I name this element as K dash, then I got K dash into H inverse, which is an element of KH. So we got all these property hold. Therefore, KH is a subgroup of G. Now let's see whether KH contains K union H. For that I am taking an element 1 from H. So K into 1 is nothing but belongs to KH, for all K belongs to K. So that is K into 1 belongs to KH implies K belongs to KH. K into 1 is nothing but K which belongs to KH, that is K is contained in KH. Similarly, if you take an element, an identity element from K, so 1 into H belongs to KH. So 1 into H is nothing but H which belongs to KH, that is H is contained in KH. H is contained in KH. That is, we got like this, KH contains both H and K. From these two equations we got like this, K contains KH and H contained in KH, that is KH contains both K and H. So hence KH contain both K and H means it contains K union H. Thus KH is a subgroup of G containing K union H. So we proved the first part of the theorem. Next we gonna prove what? KH is equal to HK, which is equal to K join H. So the second part we are gonna prove now. Okay, let's see. K join H, by the definition itself we know that it's the smallest subgroup of G containing K union H. It's given in the definition itself. Okay, so hence we can write K join H is contained in KH. That is equation number 2. What was our equation number 1? Equation number 1 was, yes, KH is contained in K join H. Now we got equation number 2, that is by the definition. It's directly from the definition that K join H is contained in KH. That is equation number 2. So from 1 and 2 we can write like this: K join H is equal to KH. So KH is contained in K join H and K join H is contained in KH. So we can write like this: K join H, which is equal to KH. Okay, I'm putting this as equation number 3. Now we need to prove KH is equal to HK. KH is equal to HK. For that we need to have two equations, that is KH is contained in HK and HK is contained in KH. Okay. For proving KH is contained in HK, let's take an element K small h from K capital H. Okay. KH is nothing but 1 into KH. Okay. Instead of 1, I am putting H into H inverse. H into H inverse is nothing but 1. Okay. H into H inverse, I am grouping together and keeping KH apart. And now taking H from this H inverse and grouping these remaining 3 elements together, that is H into, keeping these 3 elements together, that is H inverse KH. This is nothing but putting this element like K dash. So I got like which is equal to H into K dash, that is which belongs to HK. So we got the first condition, that is KH is contained in HK. Now we need to prove the reverse thing, that is HK is contained in KH. For that, similarly I will take an element HK from capital HK. So HK is nothing but HK into 1. So instead of 1 I am substituting H inverse H, which is equal to H K H inverse, I am grouping together and keeping H apart. So which is nothing but I am substituting it like K double dash. So which is equal to HK is equal to K double dash into H, which is an element of KH. So we got like HK is contained in KH. So from 4, equation number 4, where is equation number 4? Yes, equation number 4 and equation number 5, we got like HK is equal to KH. So similarly from 3 and 6 we can write like this. So this is my new equation number 6. KH is equal to HK is my equation number 6. And from 3, where is 3? Yes, from 3, K join H is equal to KH. And now we got KH is equal to HK. So we can join this together and we can write like this: K join H is equal to KH, which is equal to HK. So that's what the theorem says. If K and H are subgroups of G with K normal in G, then K join H, which is equal to KH, which is equal to set of all KH where K belongs to K and H belongs to H, which is equal to HK. So hence that's what the theorem says. Thank you.